biggest bad guy character in professional wrestling.
When's the last time you got laid?
French toast is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Hey, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Can we tell the truth about Dusty sooner or later?
Bro,
like-
less people wanted that than are currently watching our streams.
And you know Vince, and you still think, are these true? It's like...
Welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Mark It Down podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Matt Castone. Back here once again to review tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. We are fresh off of All In on Sunday. A lot of title changes, a lot of new feuds coming about, and we even got some returning superstars, one of which we saw right at the top of the show in a surprise return where Jon Moxley has come back to AEW. Oh, I do have that hat, Matt. That's from the Met game, right?
Yes, we both have. That's why I threw it on. I'm like, where's my closest Mets hat? Just to be camaraderie. But yes, the Mox Man cometh. Jon Moxley is back.
Yep. We're down 1-0, by the way, in the third. Anyway, Moxley makes a surprise entrance to a new theme. I'm not sure if it was his New Japan theme or a new theme overall. I saw James in the comments. Maybe he can help us out with that. Hi, James. I don't know how you know it as well. I saw you guys bantering before the show. Anyway, so with the surprise, Tony Schiavone decides to leave the announce desk and head down to the ring to see what's up. So Schiavone asks him what's going on, and Mox starts off by saying that he has been doing hasn't been doing a lot of talking lately, but rather a lot of thinking. And he's actually returned tonight to talk to a man who actually isn't there, saying that he and Darby Allin need to have a conversation. And while Darby is not here, Mox will not be hard to find. Mox then goes to leave, so Schiavone starts introducing the rest of the show, but Mox quickly turns around and charges back over, saying that it's going to take a long time for everyone to understand it, but shoving his chest into his finger into Schiavone's chest, saying it's not your company anymore. And post this, Schiavone was a little confused, and Moxley goes to leave, and as the announce guest attempts to get their shit back together, they send it to Renee for a backstage interview. When they come back from that, and the announce desk finally gets back on air, they were all very confused by Moxley's statement, especially Schiavone's, thinking like, it's not my company. So, Matt, this is a very interesting return here for one Jon Moxley. He starts out by calling someone out that we haven't really seen him interact with in a long while in Darby Allin. He then almost insinuates that Schiavone is the one running AEW, which is weird, although perhaps he means more of a royal you. But either way here, it does seem like, Matt, that, and I've only used this as I just kind of have to use it. Mox is looking for a bit of a new paradigm shift here, where he's definitely looking to shake up this company in one way or another, though we do not know what that way is yet.
I mean, yeah, it's like he said, he's been doing a lot of thinking. I wonder if he was thinking about how bad his match with Naito was at Forbidden Door the last time we saw him. Granted, I believe Naito got hurt in that match, so we'll let it slide. But still, he lost the New Japan world title, and does not seem to be in his mindset at all during this promo. I mean, he's talking about Tony. Maybe he's talking about a different Tony. You know, he's talking to Tony Khan through Tony Schiavone. I saw some people thinking perhaps this is a Shane McMahon like scenario. I don't see it that way. But you never know. Anything's possible.
I'm good.
I mean, unless Shane wants to do like a crazy dive off of something, but in which case, like Darby Allin would probably be like, "Am I a joke to you? Like, that's my shtick. He stole my shtick." Like, at least here in AEW. But I digress. Yeah, back to Darby Allin. He got definitively beat at All In. I thought it was kind of refreshing. I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to you guys on the All In pod. I didn't get to stay long enough to talk about that match. So kind of intriguing, and we'll even have more to talk about because it's not the last time we see Mox tonight.
No, and I thought what happened later in the show was even more intriguing. But either way, I'm glad to see Moxley back. He's always such a big part of the show. And, well, I think we have had good episodes without him there. Having him back is, even better. So
right after a pay-per-view, too, is great. That's definitely when you want to get the wheels rolling. And, he was gone for just under 2 months. That's a pretty nice vacation. I think he could have taken another month off, but hey, if he wants to come back or if they want him to come back or both, then by all means.
Yeah, it was just long enough where we were just starting to miss him, but not long enough where it was such a huge gap that it really kind of threw a wrench into everything. So well done on that timing, and thank God he finally got to get that vacation.
Well overdue.
Yes, definitely. Speaking of the backstage interview I mentioned earlier, that was with the Conglomeration and Hook, and this was a lot of members of the Conglomeration. It was Mark Briscoe, it was Kyle O'Reilly, it was Orange Cassidy, it was Tomohiro Ishii, it was Willow Nightingale. It was all 5 of them plus Hook, as we were going to have Kyle, Briscoe, and Orange team up with Hook in an 8-man tag later in the show. Plus, Ishii was about to face off against Hangman and Page following this. So Renee ran down those various matches and then turned to Mark Briscoe, who immediately hyped up Ishii as he was stepping into the ring with Page, and then also hyped up his win with Willow, along with Hook's win on Sunday, which Hook just called cool. And Willow also declared that her match with Chris Statlander will be a Chicago street fight because she has had the most street fights of any woman in AEW. And she even said that was despite the fact that CMLL did not want to sanction that match. But considering the beef between the two women, I think you kind of have to in this instance.
I mean, if you're in Chicago and it's a pay-per-view, you're almost obligated to have a street fight. And, hey, she's the queen of the street fight, so why not? I'm all for it.
Exactly. We also then get Briscoe continuing to hype everybody up before their 8-man tag match later with the word of the day, and then he storms off and everybody follows him.
What was the word of the day? I forgot.
I don't know. He talks too fast. I'm sorry. It's really hard to keep up with him. I also, with all due respect to him, I don't like going over his promos because I do not do them justice. I can recap some people, but the mad intelligence of and / gibberish of Mark Briscoe it's not possible to recap that on a show. It's too good, and I don't want to disrespect it by attempting to do so. So that's why I don't type as many notes. We then moved on to the aforementioned match between one Hangman Adam Page and Tomohiro Ishii. This was exactly what you expected it to be. Big meaty men slapping meat. Just chops and a lot of great throws between the two men, suplexes back and forth. I will jump towards the end of this match here, where after hitting a German suplex, Hangman went for the buckshot lariat, but Ishii countered with actually a deadeye, surprisingly, of all things. And Hangman, I thought he broke his neck for half a second because Ishii kind of he was kind of close to the ground, and then Hangman ducked his neck to try to take it, and it looked a lot worse than it probably was. Thank God he was okay either way.
Also, Ishii is kind of short, and Hangman's kind of tall, so that's not a great combination when it comes to pile drivers.
It looked devastating though, so well done. Ishii then hit his sliding lariat, but Hangman was able to kick out of that at the last second, or fraction of a second, I guess. Ishii and Hangman then both eventually got to their feet and returned to their absolute slugfest that had been the entire match, with Hangman eventually getting the best of it via discus elbow. He then followed that up with a deadeye of his own, and then a buckshot lariat for the win. Matt, I know you didn't catch this. This was an absolute hell of a match, though. I recommend going back and watching it. Like I said, big meaty men slapping me. I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly, their first match ever in one-on-one, which I could not believe considering all of their time, both of them in New Japan. So shocking to me, but it was well worth the wait.
I might have seen them years ago, and I could be wrong. It was a God, what the hell was it? War of the Worlds, Ring of Honor. It was supposed to be a 6-man tag, but one of the Bucks got hurt, so they turned it into a 2 versus 2 versus 2. But maybe Hangman wasn't in that. Somebody look it up for me and let me know.
I'm sure I think they've had multi-man matches together.
Yeah.
I think this was their first one-on-one match. So there's a good chance you did see such a match. However, after the match, the music of one Swerve Strickland hit, and he immediately walked right down to the ring and went nose-to-nose with Hangman. Eventually, the two of them take a step back, and Swerve starts things off by saying he should stomp Hangman into a bloody mess right now, but instead, he wanted to come out and tell Hangman to his face that he feels just sad for him right now. Swerve says that Hangman has devolved into a petulant child who continues to fall, while Swerve himself continues to rise and has risen all the way to AEW World Champion. And even though he doesn't have gold around his waist right now, he will always be able to call himself a champion. Hangman starts screaming at him at this point, saying Swerve isn't a champion. He's a piece of shit. He's the man who broke into his home, and he's the man who couldn't beat Hangman by himself. First it was Nana, then it was Nana and Cage, and then eventually Swerve wasn't able to get it done against Hangman himself in that triple threat. Swerve then is like, look, you want to lock all these other people out? Fine, let's do it. And challenges Hangman to a steel cage match at All Out. Swerve then references their triple threat match with Samoa Joe, saying that Hangman tapped out in that match just so Swerve couldn't win, and that after that match, Swerve drove up to Hangman's house and saw him taking his then pregnant wife to the hospital, where Hangman became a father for the second time, and it's there where Swerve realized that that is where Hangman is supposed to be. So Swerve left Hangman alone, as he figured Hangman wasn't going to go back for a while, and refocused himself and climbed his way all the way to the AEW World Championship. Whereas Hangman has been hyper-focused not on his career, but on Swerve, to the point where he lost the Owen Hart tournament, he lost the Casino Gauntlet match, and he even let his team down in blood and guts because he was too focused on taking Swerve out to actually help them win the match. And all of this has ended up tanking his career. Swerve then challenges Hangman to show everybody what cowboy shit really is, asking him what kind of man and role model he wants to be for his wife and children. Hangman responds by just dropping the mic and storming to the back, clearly shaken up by what Swerve has said. So, Matt, I love this promo. I'm glad we're back into this Hangman Swerve thing. It's been kind of simmering a bit for a little, or it's been there, but we haven't really gotten it to boil over just yet again. And we're now rushing headlong back into it. I think Swerve did a great job here. You even had Shivani say that he thought Swerve made some good points, which is surprising considering the fact that Swerve has been towing that line, although he pretty much crossed it with Bryan, but towing that line between heel and face. And Hangman has been doing the same. And Shivani almost always backs the face here. So interesting words from Swerve. Whereas while Hangman is saying the same thing he's been saying for a while, he is still in the right to an extent. So I do like the fact that there are all these different layers to this. And this promo has really, I think, helped reignite this feud.
Very well said. Just want to go to the comments real quick. We got it with a few comments. Oh, I can't click on the comments because I
got it. Yep.
So,
saying, what's up, guys? What's up, guy in the Mets gear? That would be me.
We both have Mets gear on.
And what's up, guy in the fishing hat?
Both we're in Mets gear right now.
The designer Mets bucket that they gave away. But yes, Matt, your thoughts on our return to the Swerve Hangman promo?
It was great, and it's great to see these guys back at it. We questioned whether it was going to be for the title or not. I think a lot of people thought the third match should be for the title. It's hard not to argue with that, though I am really happy that Bryan has the title. And I think the promo was great. I think you really hit all the bells and whistles there, and so did they, obviously. I feel like we've been spoiled over the last 20 years. I don't think steel cage matches are as big as they used to be. Like we have Hell in a Cell, we have Blood and Guts. Let's put it this way. Think about their last match. It was like a Texas death match, correct?
Their last singles match, yes.
Yeah, regardless, Texas or not, it was a death match, and it was like one of the most brutal. It's the most brutal match I've seen, like on pay-per-view from like a mainstream company in quite some time. So I don't see how a steel cage match could really top that. I'm sure they'll have something for us, and this is definitely going to be a wait and see kind of thing. But at the same time, if you told me like a month ago, at All Out, we're going to get Hangman versus Swerve Part 3, I'd be like, ooh, yay. And then you told me it's not for the title, it's a steel cage match. I'd be like, eh. So it doesn't really doesn't rev my engine. Let's put it that way.
I don't know. I think AEW has done a good job with steel cage matches, although I agree with you on the fact that the cage match has been taken to a different level with different matches, like you mentioned, Hell in a Cell, Blood and Guts / War Games. Going back to a regular cage does seem like a little bit of a tone down, especially considering, like you said, that death match was vicious. And I mean, Hangman was drinking Swerve's blood, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So I do think, though, that they'll be able to do a good job with it. It is the reason I think they're doing it, and Swerve mentioned, it's so that Swerve can prove he can beat Hangman straight up, no assistance, whether it's Cage or Brian Cage, to be specific, or
Christian Cage.
Nana, or whomever. So I do get the idea of wanting a steel cage. Granted, steel cage does never keep anybody out, although AEW is different because you have to win in the cage. You can't escape. Escaping, I believe, is actually a loss. So I do think they'll be able to do a good job. I don't know if it's going to reach the level of violence that death match did, but I'm still looking forward to it. I think while it'll be violent, I think it's going to tell a very interesting story. And if Swerve can win, I do think it makes things very interesting for Hangman, because that is one of the big things, one of the big straws he is grasping to, is that Swerve has not beaten him straight up and hasn't beaten him clean.
I don't think they're going to have Swerve beat Hangman 3 times in a row. I thought 2 times was definitely in the realm of possibility, but I was still very surprised when it happened. And I just think whatever they have, what kind of match they have, they could have something on a pole match. I'm sure they would still find a way to make it work. And I don't want it to reach the level of violence that the death match had. That was like, I wouldn't want them to top that violence-wise. Storyline-wise, yes, I want to see where it goes. But I'm just saying the storyline, I feel like the best storyline would have been for it to be for the title and have Hangman, beat Swerve for the title. But we'll see what happens.
See, now you got me torn, because I agree with you that I don't know if I want Swerve beating Hanger 3 times in a row. But at the same time, I do think not only a loss, but a more straight-up loss would leave Hangman in just a completely devolved state, like even more unhinged than he is now. So I think personally, I think there's better storytelling there. Unless unless he does win and that justifies all of his actions, and then he continues to just be this absolute madman that he has been. So I guess you could do that too. I do think he becomes more unhinged after this match, no matter what. I think the opportunity presents itself for him to go deeper off the end if he loses, but he can still go deeper if he wins as well. So I think a lot of possibilities coming out of this.
They have options.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we like. Options. Back to the comments here for a minute. I added a new banner. There we go. To the comments. It's saying another cage match. I guess I'm going to have to grit my teeth, and we will get to those guys in a bit. It's been a long time since I've seen them, and okay.
Me and James saw them in a TNA pay-per-view a couple months ago. I helped James do which one that was. I'll look it up. Give me a sec. Keep going.
Cool. We also have Navarro in the chat. What's going on, dude? Good to see you. Saying, what's up, boys? Missed all in, so I'm going to cop it and watch it. Heard so many good matches, and I'm all about that. Danielson versus Perry is kind of a bummer. I don't really like Jack Perry as a singles guy. All In was great. I highly suggest you watch it. I enjoyed the ever-living hell out of it. If you want to watch a pretty funny match, watch the pre-show with it was Stat and Stokely against Ishii and Willow Nightingale. I love that match. It was really funny. Plus, you got a big return in the pre-show as well, so you might want to double-check that. But as for Danielson and Perry, we will talk about this later. Perry is growing on me both as a character and as a singles guy. And as we all know, Bryan Danielson can carry a broomstick to a 4-star match. So I actually think that's going to end up being a good match. And I actually think that Perry will get a pretty good rub in this match, despite the fact that he is most likely going to lose. Also, it's saying that Grit Your Teeth is going to catch fire soon. Sure, Jan.
I mean, they didn't in TNA. They did well, and I looked it up. It was No Surrender back in February. I think the best, honestly, they should be. We'll talk about them in a bit. Well, what are we up to right now?
Yeah, I'm sure I'll like them. It's just that maybe not the best first impression the way the Bucks felt. But we now move on to our next match, which saw the returning Jamie Hayter face off against Harley Cameron. This was actually a very short match. I think it was almost under 5 minutes. Hayter ended up finishing it by countering a soul food from Cameron. And then when Harley basically attempted to shake Jamie's hand, which was kind of funny, Jamie pulled her up, hit 3 consecutive Hayter breakers before nailing Harley with the Haterade to pick up the quick win. After the match, Saraya got into the ring, but kind of hid behind Harley, and then when Hayter made a move at the both of them, Saraya just threw Harley into Hayter and sprinted into the crowd. I think Hayter might have put Harley back down. The commentary was far too focused on Saraya to care.
She kind of just tossed her to the side, get out of here, you.
You're not my focus kind of deal.
She didn't need any more beat downs. We love you, Harley. Keep up the great work.
But yeah, look, this is a good return for Hayter. This was more for just to get her feet wet back in the ring, B, reestablish her as one of the better women in the division. And despite the short match, she still looked very good tonight. And to continue and reestablish or reaffirm, I guess it would be the better word, this feud with Saraya. So solid segment here. I'm just glad Jamie Hayter's back, man.
Me too. I mean, we talked about it while I was for the short period of time on the All In review. It's a shame it wasn't on the main card. I think that would have helped because I'm happy she's back, but I just don't see her getting to the top, reaching the mountaintop again. Sometimes when people are come back, it's immediately they're going to be at least in the title picture, or it's only a matter of time before they get the title back. It's way too soon to tell, but just being on the pre-show as your starter is not great. So while I'm happy to see her back, and this is a fun first outing, I do have long-term concerns for her that hopefully she can prove me wrong.
I don't know. I do agree with you that I don't think she's going to go for the title right away. There's a lot of other stuff I think she needs to handle. Saraya obviously being her first feud back.
Of course.
Saraya injured her, so that makes sense. I could also see her possibly going after Toni Storm following this, depending on what happens with Toni, but they are both faces, so that could make for an interesting feud. And I do think she does face May eventually, but if you can look at somebody like Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa, while it was on Collision, they had a very good feud that was not anywhere close to being for the title. Or maybe it started around the title in the beginning, but then it went away from the title, went on Collision, and they ended up having about 3 or 4 banger matches. So with the rise of Mercedes Moné into the women's division, we clearly see Tony Khan giving the women a lot more time. And I do think that Hayter will have a good feud here. And even if she isn't in the title picture right away, I do think she will be given opportunities to be on TV and have good matches elsewhere. And maybe she ends up in the TBS title picture. Maybe she ends up in the Women's World Championship title picture. But either way, she will be in a title picture at some point. But even then, in the meantime, I think she'll be fine. Okay, back to the comments really quick.
Yeah, we got some comments.
They're finally starting to pick up. James is back, and he is saying that Jack Perry ruined his celebration. Is this what CM Punk fans feel like all of the time? Navarro asking the question, has Monet and Saraya ever had a match against each other, like even in WWE? I'm guessing they had something around the time that 3 of the 4 horsewomen came up, when Sasha Banks came up, and then along with Charlotte and Becky, I imagine they had to square off in the ring somewhere, right? Makes sense.
Definitely multi-person matches.
Yeah, like I think when they were doing it was the Bellas against Team Bad against not the submission sorority. I imagine there was a multi-women match there. And
they were not. They weren't the submission sorority for long. That's for sure.
Yeah, James pointing out that Monet did retire Saraya when she injured her. If I'm not mistaken, initially retired. If I'm not mistaken, James, that was on a house show. I could be wrong, but I feel like
I wasn't sure if that was a one-on-one match. But I'm just looking up. I googled Paige versus Sasha Banks. It looks like they do have some one-on-one matches.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was. Now I don't think Saraya has faced Mercedes Moné, but that's different.
Yeah,
James confirming that was indeed a house show match where Paige ended up being retired. James also saying, did somebody say Deonna Purrazzo? I did. I knew you came back, which is why I mentioned that. It's saying Jamie's rear view was missed. I will say she looks really good, man. It looks like she slimmed down a bit, and she looks phenomenal. So good for her. I
thought she looks great no matter what.
Yeah, no, she always did, but she just looks like she slimmed down a bit, and good for her. Like I said,
making them all sweaty and nervous.
It's saying the woman hater. Obviously, James would know that, of course. And James giving me a bonk, despite the fact I was just giving her a very generic compliment. Save the bonks for the Mariah May segment, dude. Trust me. But let's try to get things back on track here as we again went backstage to Renee Paquette, this time for an interview with the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, alongside Big Bill and Brian Keith, and their tag team partner for later, one Roderick Strong. So
Hi guys.
Low key, he's kind of getting that over. But we'll talk about that more in the match. So Renee starts off this interview by asking Big Bill about the great reaction he got over in Great Britain, as the crowd was really, really into Big Bill, despite the fact he was attempting to heel it up. They just cheered him the whole time. But Bill just spews some life coach nonsense about fans' opinions changing like colors of the leaves on the Learning Tree, and that fall is soon coming up, aka the really crunchy way of saying that the crowd is fickle. Which, if you're going to out crunchy Bryan Danielson, well done. Renee then turns to Jericho and asks him about his loss to Hook at All In and how that might factor into their match later. And Jericho, after a "hi guys," says that he had a glorious run as the For the World champion, but Hook was finally able to use the lessons that he imparted onto him to win and regain the title. Roderick Strong then enters the conversation with a Chris Jericho, saying that while he and Jericho always haven't seen eye to eye, even apologizing for hitting Jericho in the head with a bat at one point, he is honored to be in the Jericho vortex, even if it is just for one night. However, Roddy needs a bit of help from Jericho. He cannot get Kyle O'Reilly away from Orange Cassidy. And he knows that Jericho has had issues with Orange in the past, and he knows that Jericho knows how much of a poison Orange can be. Jericho agrees, saying that Orange still owes him $7,000 for ruining his jacket 3 years ago. I believe that was back in the Mimosa match. And that the 4 men are going to be taking it out of Orange tonight as he finally pays the price, this time in the ring. Go ahead, Matt.
It wasn't the Mimosa match. It was before the Mimosa match. He had the think like some kind of like it was either the mimosa or the blood oranges. It might have been a bunch of blood oranges fall from the sky and hit
Right.
hit the inner circle. So yeah, that's what it was from. But like
leading into the mimosa match.
Yes, leading to the mimosa match. Yes. This segment didn't do a whole lot for me, but I did like the history lessons we were told. I mean, AEW's been around for 5 years now. 5 years. I won't do the whole count, but so there's enough that they can use and go with. But just everyone kind of was. I only really liked Big Bill's part in the beginning. Roderick Strong's become a complete parody of like his character, and it feels stale at this point. He needs to keep evolving. Do what Jericho does. Keep evolving.
I agree. I liked Roddy actually a little bit in this segment. He seemed to bounce off of Jericho pretty well, but I do agree with you in general that Roddy has become a shell of what he was doing before the Undisputed Kingdom, which is unfortunate because the stuff he was doing along with the Kingdom and Adam Cole was funny and good, and it has kind of reverted. Now, we saw a glimpse of it here tonight with him screaming Jericho's name, but for the most part, yeah, he's just become one-dimensional Roderick Strong again, now with, clear-rimmed glasses, and that's really all we've gotten, which is a little unfortunate in my opinion.
You remember that I didn't like the clear rim glasses. I like that. I like the horn rims. I thought that was the look, Roddy. That was the look. And it is interesting. He's trying to get Kyle O'Reilly into the fold, which makes sense from the standpoint the Undisputed Kingdom isn't doing anything. It's just awful at this point, but also makes no sense because like Roderick basically attacked Kyle and like, you know what I mean? But like Kyle is doing as badly as the Undisputed Kingdom, so why not just put them together?
I mean, I kind of been enjoying Kyle with the conglomeration. He's been a lot of fun bouncing off of Briscoe, so I think he's doing okay. But you're right, like the Undisputed Kingdom isn't doing anything, so their current attempts to recruit Kyle are at least something. And with Cole, obviously their leader not being there, God only knows where Wardlow is. At least they have some semblance of an idea of what to do instead of nothing. And we did seemingly get a little bit more of direction for Roddy in the match, but we will get there.
Well, one more note. I think you're giving Kyle too much credit. I do think he's fun. I like him, but he's losing most of his matches. And who lost that 21-man Casino Battle Royal on Sunday? Who took the pin? It was Kyle O'Reilly. My man's not doing great. And Wardlow, I think he's probably in Stanford waiting outside the WWE headquarters, just waiting for his contract to expire.
That or he's in Orlando, and I always say I might wait in Orlando over Stanford, having been to Stanford often enough.
Well said.
Yeah. And I think the reason Kyle is losing is because they are attempting to tease out this will he join the Undisputed Kingdom thing, because if he's going to keep losing with the conglomeration, if he's going to lose to Orange Cassidy for the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet match, lose to another conglomeration member, I think it's the tease for him to end up betraying them and join the Undisputed Kingdom. Will he? We'll see. But I think the losses are attempting to lay those seeds. Navarro asking, is Adam Cole okay? I know he was dealing with mental health stuff a while ago, but he seems totally MIA from socials as well. But I could be wrong. It's saying, doesn't he still stream games on Twitch? I think he does. I'm not a huge Twitch guy, man. I don't know if you are. As far as I know with Cole, he is just busting his ass in rehab. There's a lot of rumors flying around about him and Britt, so I don't know what's going on there, and nor will I speculate about that here, as James does the same in the comments, saying Britt does that to a guy. Thank you for getting on that, just as I do. But I don't know whatever he's going through, whether it's just him wanting to focus on his physical stuff or he's got some other personal things going on. He's not there. And
we know he moved. He moved from Florida to Pennsylvania. We know that. And we know he's still not cleared to be in the ring. So other than that, it's just do an internet deep dive. You'll see all the rumors.
Yeah, I'm sure Meltzer or SRS or somebody's got something, but like I said, I don't want to speculate. And James making a good point. Even if he is dead, he does come back a lot.
I think that happens specifically on BTE.
Yeah,
that
was
BTE. Okay, that was that. I don't watch it, but that's what I figured.
Yeah, so when he went to NXT, they killed him at backstage at a PWG show, and then they accidentally killed Rick Knox too, because they poisoned Cole. Let me hang on. There you go. They poisoned Cole with a monster, and then he died. And then Rick Knox came over and he was like, "Oh, free monster," and he drank it, and he also died. So apparently, though, if you go to AEW, you can be resurrected. Who knew? Okay, moving on after that backstage promo, we went back into the ring, this time with one Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. So MJF comes out. He was in all gray and black and white, even the Burberry scarf, which looked pretty cool. The Tron was in black and white as well. This man is obviously not only very depressed, but a very stark departure from the colorful red, white, and blue he'd been wearing over the past month or so.
He's in mourning.
Yes, he very much is. MJF starts off by saying he is still in a bunch of pain and he has a headache. So everyone needs to shut up and quiet down, or he's going to hop the guardrail and beat up everybody in Champaign, Illinois, which obviously genders a good amount of booze. He then says that after Sunday, he no longer has his title or his Dynamite Diamond ring, and now he has 2 herniated discs to go along, or to go with that. And while he was defending America throughout that entire time, nobody was there with him, nobody in the crowd, anywhere. So he renounces his American citizenship outside of the greatest place on earth, Plainville, Long Island, New York. Been there. Plainview, sorry. I wrote Plainview. Who cares? It's Long Island. Anyway, MJF cannot believe that the people have refused to back him, despite the fact that they know what AEW was like without him, calling it a circus. Speaking of circuses, MJF turns his attention to that clown Will Ospreay. I think he called him actually a circus performer because of the flips and shit, saying that Ospreay better watch his back because as Ospreay eventually gets into position to win the AEW World Championship, which MJF just basically calls inevitable, Max will cut him off at the knees when he least expected it, with a smile on his face. Finally, MJF turns to Daniel Garcia, calling him the scum of the earth and screaming into the camera that if Garcia ever shows his face in AEW again, MJF will end his life. And as he finished yelling this, Garcia sneaks in from behind and blindsides MJF, immediately taking him down. Garcia stomps him out, lays in a bunch of punches, and eventually chokes Max out before getting him in position for a pile driver. However, Garcia thinks twice about it and instead looks at the ropes and attempts to get MJF over to them so he can deliver the same second rope pile driver that MJF had given to him. However, a bunch of useless security guards come down, so Garcia gets distracted, and as he fights them off, MJF is able to recover, and then he hits Garcia from behind, pushing Danny into the corner. MJF lays in some stomps. However, Garcia is able to quickly reverse his fortunes and gets MJF down in the corner, stomping him out before getting him up to the second rope for the pile driver. However, at this point, Christopher Daniels comes into the ring and prevents this, along with some much more effective security, and the two men are pulled apart. Garcia grabs a mic and tells MJF how he was the one who stole his Dynamite Diamond ring, which he pawned off in Buffalo, New York, in order to get a round-trip ticket to London so that he can ruin or start to ruin MJF's life by costing him the International Championship. Garcia says ruining MJF's life is now his sole focus, even calling it his fetish, and says that Tony Khan has given him a match versus Max at All Out. Danny finishes things off by saying that he's not going to be satisfied just by defeating MJF, and he won't stop until he feels MJF's neck break below him, and Max and everyone who loves him has to suffer alongside him. So, Matt, I like this segment. I thought MJF did a pretty good job here. He actually was given a bit of a smaller window than he usually is to speak due to the brawl and everything else. But he did a good job. And we're going to table the Ospreay stuff for now, which I think is the right call. I think it's run its course for the time being. And this allows him to refocus on Daniel Garcia, who it does seem like he kind of wants to help in a non-kayfabe capacity by giving him a high-profile match. And I like Garcia here. He was very over. The crowd, which I think you mentioned wasn't mentioned in our chat, wasn't too great tonight, was very into him. They really wanted to see MJF get his neck snapped in half. And I thought Daniel, he cut a pretty good promo. It was a very emotional one, so I'll forgive him any, mishaps or stumblings. But I enjoyed this, and it's a quick turnaround for this feud. But I think they got me pretty invested in this match coming up at All Out.
Same. Yeah, this crowd, I hate to hate on a crowd, but Champaign. They were
the University of Illinois Fighting Illini.
They were pretty dull tonight, and they looked like they had a good crowd size-wise, but they were dull. But when Danny Garcia mentioned breaking a neck, everyone apparently that crowd wanted to see someone get paralyzed, because that's when they really came alive. The promo itself I thought was good. I don't know if you mentioned it in the All-In review. Again, sorry, it'll be the last time I say it. I'm sorry I wasn't there for the whole thing. I think MJF not coming out to James Brown's Living in America and dressing up like Apollo Creed was I don't know if I didn't say it on the pod. I just said it in the chat. But
I thought you did mention it on the pod, but I was definitely sure to mention it on the pod because you and I were in lockstep with that.
Huge missed opportunity, especially since unfortunately he's passed away now.
Was probably seriously expensive. So
that's the only thing I can think of, right? Is that song's got to be super expensive. But
and we already paid for Final Countdown. We can't pay for James Brown as well. Yes.
Yeah. But I like the look with the black and the black scarf. It was cool. Even Danny Garcia looked cool when he had it draped over his head. Hopefully he didn't get any heat from Taz. Taz, you do a towel, he can use the scarf. It's not the same thing. But the only complaint I had about MJF's promo, because overall I liked it and I agree with you we had the same sentiment. My complaint was that he brought up Will Ospreay becoming world champion. And it's Will just won this title. Let's have some focus and some energy and some excitement over the title he has right now. Not what may happen in the future. Save that for when Will Ospreay doesn't have a title. You'll become a world champion in the future. Or save it for commentary when they're Will Ospreay, he did fight for the world championship at Forbidden Door against Swerve Strickland, came up short, but I'm sure he'll get another opportunity in the future. Don't bring it up now. I thought it was kind of tacky, not a great look. And I think MJ, if anything, you could be I'm going to cut you down. I'm going to cost you this title. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a world title. That was just, I know it's a small nitpick that I had a lot to say about, but that was my complaint about the promo.
No, I agree with what you're saying. He did just win this title back, the AEW International title. And I think MJF could have made it a much more generic threat, being at some point when you least expect it, I will come in and cut your legs off, as opposed to immediately calling him out for a title that Will is not going to be able to go for, probably for a little while, because A, he's otherwise occupied with his title, and B, he did just lose a AEW World title opportunity. So back of the line for him, unfortunately. Now, I understand maybe doing it. Obviously, they were doing it, again, just to table their feud for a little while. But if this does happen in the future, if Ospreay 5 months, 6 months from now is challenging for the AEW World Championship, and MJF does cost him, that is some long-term booking, man. So I am curious. I'm curious to see if that seed, eventually grows into a big-ass learning tree in the future. If that does come to fruition, yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something that you and I don't really like at the moment. But 6 months from now, it could be a really interesting shot being called there by MJF.
Yeah, no, it's a wait and see. But in the meantime, like right now, I don't like it. I think it makes the International Championship look like a consolation prize. But I think this is going to be great for Danny Garcia. I think they'll have a solid match. Danny Garcia has been doing great work. Obviously, he's been on a little bit of a sabbatical recently. Now he's back. And, it's a good high-profile feud for him and good for him. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and to hop into the comments really quick, James agreeing with you, saying he's very happy for Danny. And, yeah, this is a high-profile feud for Garcia, and I think he's more than earned it. He's very over with the crowd, and he was very over when he came back on Sunday. He was very over again tonight. So I'm excited for him to get this opportunity. Navarro saying that MJF and Garcia feels the drama feels like Drew McIntyre and CM Punk drama, which it's pretty funny.
It's funny because they're feuding over the bracelet, and Garcia stole the ring and sold it, so they're both about jewelry.
Yeah, I somehow missed that ring getting stolen. I don't know, I forgot when or where it happened, but do you know, Matt? Because I completely missed it.
They mentioned it at All In, and I figured maybe it was something on the pre-show because, I didn't watch the pre-show.
Yeah, I watched the matches.
Yeah, they just mentioned it during MJF's match. I have no idea if they did some sort of segment or anything on their socials about it.
Yeah, or if it was on Collision or something. I have no idea.
Exactly. I don't know either.
Yeah, it didn't happen on Dynamite, so I missed it. And if it happened on the pre-show, it happened before the matches. I was only listening because I was making breakfast. James saying if he feels like this is handled properly, it could be Danny's chance to move up the card and be seen as a bigger deal to the crowd, which I 100% agree with. And I think that's something, I just mentioned as well. James also giving us the update that on the scrum, Tony Khan said that they worked out a deal regarding Final Countdown. So I guess we'll be getting that from now until the end of Bryan's run with the title, which is great and probably saving Tony some money, giving them a package deal instead of a per play basis, because I got to imagine that's a lot. And it here saying that MJF may be wrong from time to time, but he does never lie. I feel like he always lies. Isn't that the point?
He definitely stretches the truth, that's for sure.
I will say, though, he rarely lies about a threat. He almost always comes through with those. So I do think that is something we're going to have to watch out for the next time good old Billy Boy is in AEW World Championship contention. Okay, we will move on from there. So after this, we got a quick video package for Ricochet, who will made his AEW Dynamite debut, in-ring debut. Well, same thing. A little bit later, but we went to our match between the Conglomeration and Hook versus the Learning Tree and Roderick Strong. This is being dubbed as a all-star 8-man tag. Members of the Conglomeration. I do apologize. I bit my tongue the other day, and it is kind of swollen and it's annoying.
Good.
Thank you, but I'm tripping over it every once in a while. Anyway, we had Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, and Mark Briscoe representing the Conglomeration. Obviously, the Learning Tree being made up of Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian Keith. I will jump to the end of this match here, as it was fairly long. Two matches tonight got two commercial breaks. The first one being Hangman and Ishii, which, James, since you're in the comments, if you didn't see that, Big B Men Slapping Meat, go watch it. This one also got two commercial breaks. And a lot of people in it. I'm glad they were all able to get their stuff in. But we had Kyle, Orange, and Briscoe be able to take out the three members of the Learning Tree on the outside. Kyle hit Jericho with a running knee. Orange hit a tope onto, I believe it was Brian Keith. And then Briscoe used a chair that Orange had set up in the ring to vault himself over the ropes and take out Big Bill. This left Hook and Roderick Strong one-on-one in the ring. With all the chaos going on the outside, Roddy attempted a very sneaky roll-up, but Hook was able to kick out of that, and he quickly locked in the Red Rum on Strong, forcing him down to the mat. Roddy is eventually forced to tap out, and Aubrey Edwards calls for the bell. However, she was so focused on Roderick's tap that she missed the fact that his foot was on the ropes well before he had started tapping, and therefore this match should have continued. However, the referee's decision is final, and Hook and the Conglomeration end up winning. After the match, we have the Conglomeration and the members of the Learning Tree getting into it on the floor, and they fight their way up the ramp as security and led by Christopher Daniels, which means that they're the good security. They eventually begin to break that fight up. Back in the ring, we have the Kingdom come in, and they immediately jump Hook, and Hook fights them off for a little bit, but a recovered Roderick Strong is able to come in and officially put Hook down for good. And after they stomp Hook out, the Kingdom lifts Roderick Strong up on their shoulders, as he hoists up the FTW Championship belt. So, Matt, this match was fun. You build something as an 8-man all-star tag. It's just going to be fun. People are going to get their stuff in. Good guys are most likely going to win, which they did. And honestly, I think the guy, for me personally, I know he's my guy. I thought Brian Keith looked really good in this match. He did some very good work here, and he stood out to me, at least. But this goes back to something we were talking about earlier, and how directionless Roderick Strong is. Him going after Hook here and attempting to go after the FTW Championship is at least somewhat of the direction, while he has seemingly done nothing since the Kingdom has been formed. Well, I don't want to say since the Kingdom has been formed, since he has won, or lost, I guess, rather, the AEW International Championship.
I mean, I don't know why Dustin Rhodes needs to have the ROH 6-man titles and the ROH tag titles. It's like he's babysitting the ROH tag team division. I don't know why the Undisputed Kingdom can't have those 6-man tag titles. That's what I'm wondering, because that would give Roderick something to do, even if it's in ROH. I mean, at least all I'll say is, my only note, at least Roderick's foot was on the rope, because I thought going into this, if the bad guys lost, Brian Keith was taking that pin. But the last few minutes of the match, I'm like, Roderick's still in the ring. Roderick's still in the ring. Roderick hasn't tagged out. Oh my God, Roderick's going to take this pin, or Roderick's going to take the L, which was really upsetting. But the foot on the rope, I was like, all right, it's salvaged. I'll take it. It's we can live to fight another day.
Yeah, and I thought that was a clever way of combining that with the beatdown to give Roddy a real reason to want to go after Hook, and B, go after this title. So considering how much nothing they are doing, at least this is something. And I'm sure that Hook, considering the fact it looks like him, Shibata, and Joe aren't going to be doing anything together anytime soon, unfortunately, which was a complete waste of fucking time then, because that was great. I love them together, but if Joe's going to be on hiatus out filming Twisted Metal, and Shibata, I don't even know what he's doing. It seems like he's hanging out with the Von Erichs and the aforementioned Dustin Rhodes, and I guess Sammy Guevara too. I guess he's hanging out with them right now. I don't know, but I
don't know how those guys became a tag team. I was like, wait, they're a tag team and they're the tag shit? Like, what? I've never been so lost with Ring of Honor before.
Yeah, Dustin and the Von Erichs make sense. They're all from Texas. Fine. I guess, that makes sense.
And Sammy's from Texas too. I guess that was good enough.
Yeah, I guess. I always forget he's from Texas because he's always in Florida. So
Dustin and I don't even... Yeah, Dustin and the Von Erichs, they're the white guys from Texas, and Sammy Guevara, he's the Spanish god from Texas. So that's why you don't think Dustin in the same way as you think of Sammy as far as Texas is concerned. Maybe not not that there's anything wrong with being a Spanish god.
Yeah, no, I think he's split time in his life between Florida and Texas, and he lives in Florida now, I'm pretty sure, which is why I forgot he's from Texas, despite I'm pretty sure that's how he knows Fuego. I think that's how he knows Fuego. So
I didn't even know Sammy was in Florida. So there you go. We're on the same page, but we're not.
Yeah, but back on track.
You don't remember things about Ring of Honor.
But back on track to Hook, I think now he'll probably be hanging out with the conglomeration maybe a little bit more. So this will allow Roddy to go after Hook's title while also probably still attempting to recruit Kyle O'Reilly at the same time. So that proximity, I think, ends up working out and gives all of these people a little bit more to do than just random 8-man all-star tags, which is seemingly all the conglomeration has been doing outside of the build to the Casino Gauntlet match.
They're fun, but you can't do it all the time.
Exactly. Moving on, we then went a backstage to a celebration party for one Mercedes Moné. Apparently both women were scheduled to get celebration parties. Mercedes obviously celebrating the fact that she retained her TBS championship against one Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. You got to think. Thank you. Because somebody's throwing a party at AEW, Private Party obviously has to be there, and they join in, telling Mercedes that the way things work around here is if you throw a party, they will be there. Quen starts praising Mercedes for her win on Sunday and brings up her New Japan Pro Wrestling strong title defense on Collision against Moto Yantanabe. I think I got that right. Calling her a fighting champion and toasting to the fact that she is one, with Isaiah, with what they agree is some high quality stuff. Isaiah then tries to move in on Mercedes, saying that he knows she's single. Fun fact, she's not. And that he loves her fur and her red dress, since red is the color of love, and he thinks that dress would look great on top of him.
Jesus.
This was very forward, so Camille steps in between the two, and Quen pulls his boy back, attempting to apologize for him. And as this is happening, Kazuchika Okada joins the party, and he steps up next to Mercedes, asking if Isaiah has had a little too much liquid courage. But Isaiah is like, hey, you can have some. It's good. You should try. There's plenty for everybody. Trying to talk his way out of it. Mercedes then asks Okada how to say bye, bitch, in Japanese. I believe she called him Okada-san. And he whispers it in her ear, and she repeats back, sayonara, bitch, sending Private Party packing. Mercedes then gets the party restarted, starting the CEO chant and doing the dance, with Okada attempting to do it with her very poorly and saying, quote, this is a dream came true. So, look, Matt, this was probably the funniest segment of the card. I love this. Nice to see Private Party doing something. Nice to see them going to a party again. But most importantly here, we have Okada furthering his relationship with Mercedes, I guess both as a professional and perhaps otherwise. And Okada just continuing to be hilarious as all hell, because I know a lot of people are like, we took the best wrestler in the world and brought him over and made him a comedy act. Okada has always wanted to be a comedy act, and he is now getting to do that while still being one of the biggest badasses on the planet and crushing on Mercedes Moné. I think he's doing a pretty fucking good job here.
Yeah, it's not like he's having comedy matches. Like if he was having comedy matches, I would understand why people would be upset. It's just like, sorry, he's like flexing his personality a bit. You know, it's been fun. That whole thing with him accidentally turning off the Acclaim's entrance is like my favorite thing he's done in AEW, and he's had amazing matches on top of that. So, you know, what's there to complain about? I wasn't a fan of how bad his Monet dance was. I think it would have been fun if it was just like a little bit better. I don't know.
But I think it was funnier that it was terrible. The man has no rhythm.
It didn't even resemble it at all. Like if you
I know, it's funny.
It didn't work for me, but it wasn't like oh my god, you ruined the segment. You know what I mean? It's not going to be up there for me personally with the Acclaim. Like, I'm so sorry, bitch. You know, like, which was great. But yeah, sayonara, bitches. You can't beat that that go-to line.
Okada has been so hilariously memeable since he has joined AEW. From the I'm so sorry to this dance to even his appearance in the Casino Gauntlet match on Sunday, where the face he made when he hugged Orange, and now that he, instead of hitting the pose, he just flips everybody off. Like everything he does is a meme, and it's perfect. And I don't care. He's great in AEW. He's everything I want him to be, while still putting on banger match after banger match. So if you don't like it, too bad. Also, really quick, I guess since it was a pay-per-view, he stole Nick Jackson's gear again and put it on before All In.
I did see that video. That was fun.
He's got to do it. It's the best. And it's the funny. That's how I knew Okada was funny. When I started seeing that on BT, I was like, this man's hilarious. They should really let him do that. And the Bucks know how funny he is. And finally here in AEW, he could be the comedy wrestler he's always wanted to be. All right. We then move back to the ring, what was supposed to be another championship celebration for Mariah May, the new AEW Women's World Champion. However, when Tony Schiavone came out onto the stage to introduce her and apparently seemingly interview Mariah came out and said that the championship celebration was postponed, as she did not want to have it in the town of Champaign. She says that while it might be called Champagne, it should be renamed Flat Stale Piss Warm Beer, something the women of this town seem to have a lot of experience with shoving down their throats, along with other things. Mariah then says what this town needs is some glamour, and since that is her thing, she's going to take off her robe to give them some real glamour and show them the new AEW Women's World Champion. James, if you would like to break out the bonks, now is the time. Mariah then takes the robe off, and revealing a gorgeous outfit with the championship around her waist. However, she only does so ever so briefly as she covers back up and says, that's enough because the town doesn't deserve anymore. And she quickly goes to the back. So Matt, I like this segment. I'm sure you can imagine why.
Yeah, no, it was good. Where was I? Was James joking when he said like that she was going to do a live nude celebration? Was that a joke, or did he read that somewhere? Because
I assumed he was making a joke.
Okay, because I thought when she came out in the robe, I thought she was going to do the thing where she takes off the robe and she's got the one title, the AEW, whichever one she wanted to swap. Like she'd have the one title around her bosom, and of the AEW Women's World Championship, and then she'd have the Owen Hart, Cup Championship around her crotch. So I thought like that's what she was going to do. She looked great. I'm not saying I was disappointed or anything, but it was just kind of like she's going to save the celebration, but then she shows off anyway. Like, I guess if she was doing the celebration, she would have gone down to the ring. I guess she would have taken the robe off completely, kind of skipped around maybe. I don't know. It's like you showed us the goods, even though you said you were canceling. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying from a storyline perspective, I'm just kind of like, you're withholding, but you're not. Like, you know what I mean? This doesn't make sense. You should have come out and been like, I'm not having this celebration here. This town sucks. You're not seeing anything, and like walk to the back with her robe still on, and we all would have been pissed, and everyone would have been sexually frustrated. I mean, what's better than that for a heel,
I mean, yeah, it's a good point. You're right. I'm not entirely sure what they were trying to accomplish here. I really don't.
Will we get a actual celebration in another town? Will that actually happen at all?
Yeah, because it's weird. We got the heat of her not having a celebration and being able to insult the town about it, and that's cool. But then all that heat kind of went away because everybody was just ogling her, even though it was only for about 5 seconds. Those are good 5 seconds. So it's just, we kind of just burned out any heat we just gave her. So I don't know. I'm not complaining though. I'm not going to.
She showed off the goods, and there was a really funny, like they showed a reaction of the crowd of like some girl putting a sign over her dad's face or her boyfriend's face. I don't know. It was very quick, but it was funny. And it was funny enough that the guys at the commentary desk were laughing about it, which luckily did not derail the segment. But
Oh yeah, Excalibur was trying to do. I don't know if he was trying to throw it to the next thing, like start his read to throw it to the next segment, or he was just commenting on what Mariah was doing. But yeah, it popped him. Like I'm sure that it'll probably end up on Botchamania. Hi Matthew, and we'll get a good send for the man out of it because he completely broke Excalibur with that shot. Shout out that cameraman getting it. Good job out of them. Shout out to the director showing it. We know we have our issues with some AEW direction sometimes, but. You got that one done right.
I hope Mariah does do the thing with the titles. I don't think she will though, because I think she's won the women's world championship. I think the Owen belt is kind of like over. It's
superfluous. Yeah, I don't think she's going to carry it anymore. It's superfluous and redundant. You know what? Chiming in here saying I only need 5 seconds. Just ask my wife. Well done. Well done. Anyway, after Excalibur was able to recompose himself, he sent it to a promo from the Grizzled Young Vets. That was the first half of it was taped following their appearance at All In. They introduced themselves and who they are and everything, and the Young Bucks then interrupt, attempting to get in good with them, saying that the GYV made a statements to FTR and they don't like FTR either. Maybe they should team up. But instead, the Vets say that they sent their message not only to FTR and the Acclaimed, but the Bucks as well, finishing off by saying the next time the Bucks see them and they come for their titles, that they're going to need to grit their teeth. We then go to a live shot of the Grizzled Young Vets backstage at Dynamite, where they announce that they'll be competing against a lucky tag team. And that team will, again, have to grit their teeth. So, look, we were talking about this a bit earlier, Matt. I liked the Grizzled Young Vets in the ring from what I remember them. I think they were from when they were in NXT, and I haven't really seen them in a while, so I don't know much of their gimmick and their promo stuff. They got a very, very short segment here. Do I love the grit your teeth thing? No, but it can grow on me, so I'm willing to give it a shot. But I'm going to withhold my judgment from a 90-second promo that was 2 different parts.
I'll give you a little more backstory. So James Drake, that's his catchphrase, grit your teeth.
Okay.
They were both in the second United Kingdom tournament, like for the UK title. Yeah. Zach Gibson, the other tag partner, he won and challenged Pete Dunne and lost. So Zach Gibson kind of had some potential at some point. They're both very talented, but neither of them have really much in the way of personality. And they just kind of got put together. I don't think they had teamed before. And they were tag champs in NXT UK. And then they went to NXT. They got upgraded. And I think they became tag champs there. But they've always just been kind of like a run-of-the-mill kind of tag team. They can
good
put
in the
on
ring, though, right?
Yes,
good in the ring.
Put on good matches, but they're not that exciting. They're kind of generic, and it's like you put 2 generic guys together, and it just was like, okay, they're still good wrestlers, but like they're still generic. And I'm shocked they're here in AEW. Honestly, I don't think they've proven themselves like to have evolved much since they first started teaming together. I think they're more appropriate to be on like NWA, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like they didn't, I think it just, I'm like, why are they here? I don't care. And their first match back is going to be on Rampage. That's how you know it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I couldn't quite make out which show it was, so thank you for letting me know. Yeah, that's worse than it being on Collision, I think. And
Collision's not bad. It's the alternative show, and like they did lose their Collision debut, which is not great. They're back now. They're All In like segment when they came into All In didn't get a big response from their home country, so it's like I get these guys are just inevitable jobbers, and I think there's enough people on the roster already that they don't need them in AEW. No offense.
Well, here's the problem. This is something James and I have been talking about the last couple of weeks. Tag division desperately needs depth right now. There are not a lot of tag teams, especially considering the fact that Lucha Bros seem to be out the door. And for the last few months, it's pretty much just revolved around the Bucks and FTR and the Acclaimed. So this does add some much needed depth, I think. And they can attempt to push them and see where it goes. If they flounder, so be it. But at least there's a fourth team that can at least seemingly contend for the titles and will probably have a feud with FTR, which is something we haven't really seen before, as far as I know. So just it's something new, and it's something that the tag division desperately needs at the moment. So I'm willing to give them a shot.
We have other tag teams. They're just not fresh and new that you're forgetting about. We have Dark Order.
Ooh.
We have Top Flight. We have the Kingdom. You know, we got tag teams. But
all due respect, all three of those teams are pretty much in Ring of Honor right now. Like, I would love for Dark Order to be heated up again, but it's going to take a minute. You know, like, at least Grizzled Young Vets come in and they can have a high-profile feud with FTR off the jump because, well, they jumped them. So that's going to be something that's happening immediately. Yeah, I'm with you. Heat up some of those teams. Let's get Top Flight, you know, back into the mix of things. Hopefully Private Party can get back in the mix of things, especially the Dark Order. I love them and really want them to do well, and they've been MIA. But right now, at the top of the card in the tag division, there is nothing. So at least there's a fourth team to add just a little bit of depth to the top of the card in the tag division. And James bringing up another good point to help back me up. While there are teams, Matt, they all have perceptions as losers, and it sucks because he, as do I, love most, if not all, of those teams. But a new team is going to inject new life into the division. So yes, James and I on the same page here. He's backing me up. I appreciate it, and he's right. No, seriously, of the teams you named, who has a perception as a winner at the moment?
none of them, but GYV aren't much of the way of winners in my book either. So
probably not, but they're being portrayed as such so far. So we kind of have to go off of that. Whereas, you know, Private Party, unfortunately, I know that I mentioned them, not you, but them, Dark Order, Top Flight, and the fourth team, I'm forgetting already. The Kingdom, like, they're all losers. I know the Kingdom was Ring of Honor tag champs, but that doesn't matter in AEW that much. Doesn't have the same weight. So this is just good. This is depth to the top of the card, and it's just a quick injection. Please build somebody else up. I agree with you there. Okay. James also helping us out with the Mariah stuff. Also regarding Mariah, she says she would have a new celebration with the belt. She didn't say in the ring. It's probably with Mina Shirakawa.
Nah, let's put a. I'm gonna stop before any bonk.
Yeah, I'll bonk myself on that. We then went to what ended up being our final match of the evening, which saw Ricochet face off against Kyle Fletcher in Ricochet's AEW Dynamite debut. I will jump to the end of this match here as Ricochet hit a tope suicida, and after getting Fletcher back into the ring, went to follow that up with a flying nothing off of the top rope. I do like Excalibur was like, he went for the splash. It was a flying nothing. But Fletcher was able to get the boots up and then wrangle Ricochet in for a sheer drop brainbuster, but Ricochet was able to kick out of that. Ricochet then tried to go for the belly-to-back pile driver, but Ricochet countered and eventually hit a Death Valley driver that Fletcher kicked out of. However, Ricochet was able to quickly capitalize and hit Fletcher with his finisher, which Excalibur called the Vertigo, and that was able to keep Fletcher down for the 3 and a win for Ricochet in his Dynamite debut. After the match, the music of the AEW International Champion, Will Ospreay, hit, and Ospreay came out, laying the belt at his feet at the top of the ramp before going to speak. However, before he can get a word out, Pac just comes out of nowhere and hits a nasty-ass poison rana on Will on the stage and just absolutely knocks him senseless. Pac then grabs the mic and tells Ospreay that he shouldn't forget about him, as Pac will be challenging Ospreay at All Out for the International Championship, for welcoming Ricochet to AEW and telling him to get to the back of the line like everyone else. And Ricochet came up the ramp, but Pac just was like, fuck you, I'm out of here. And Ricochet, despite trying to call Pac out, eventually went to 10 to Ospreay. So, Matt, solid match from Ricochet in his debut. I frankly kind of wanted a little more, surprisingly. I'm very high on Fletcher, and I know he can do very, very well. So considering that and considering the fact I was kind of hoping we got some stuff from Ricochet we haven't seen in a long time, whether it's because he's not allowed to do it or the WWE style, whatever it is. It was a solid match, but I don't know. Maybe I just wanted more out of from these two guys because I have such high expectations for them.
Yeah, no, this match kind of fell short for me. There wasn't a whole lot that I really loved about this match. Also, his new finisher, the Vertigo, great name for a finisher, especially with the way the Ricochet, the character fits. And it was a decent move, but I wouldn't call that a finisher. That looks more like, a signature or setup for a finisher. I didn't like it much. It didn't really. It was somewhat impactful, but not that flashy. I think we want flashiness out of Ricochet. So yeah, I don't think this was great, especially, because Fletcher had a banger with Ospreay not too long ago. So I think people wanted to see something more along those lines, because when people think of outside of WWE Ricochet, they think of Ricochet versus Will Ospreay and what a, even kind of match and, style that was. So the fact that Ricochet and Fletcher didn't really deliver the same way Fletcher and Ospreay delivered is not a great sign. Again, it's only his first match, singles match. Did I find it disappointing? Yes, but is it a huge disappointment and oh my God, why'd you sign this guy? No, it's not that serious. Plenty more for Ricochet to do here in AEW. Hopefully he lays off of X, though. His comebacks on the comments of his trolls have been pretty childish and not funny and kind of cringe. So, Ricochet definitely, hopefully, is more invested in his time in the ring and his time in AEW than he is on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Final thought, it was funny when he ran after Pac. He almost went down that corridor, and then I'm sure something in his mind said, I can't go down that corridor. That's for bad guys. Bad guys only down the left. I got to go down the right. So, bad joke. Here we go.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't think it was bad, but you used the word disappointing, and I think that's a good word relative to our expectations of what we thought we could get. Maybe Ricochet is just gonna have to relearn or get reacclimated to working outside of the WWE style, and it might take him a couple of matches to really, stretch his legs again and feel like the Ricochet he did before he got to WWE, maybe even the Ricochet in NXT. But I know these two guys can do better, and hopefully we do see them doing better in the future. And I'm sure we will. Both of these men are far too talented. Making a pretty decent point, saying that maybe his first match, being Ricochet, should have been with someone a little more familiar with so that he could have a better match. And perhaps I do understand why they did this match, because it does allow the Ospreay tie-in, and then that led to the Pac attack, excuse me. So I do get why it was Fletcher. I'm trying to think of who it could have been that Ricochet would have been a little more familiar with. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I think Pac would have been perfect if Pac wasn't having a title match against Ospreay in 10 days, which I don't know how he managed to pull that off. I don't know how he earned that, but I digress.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think if I'm sure Pac and Ricochet have faced each other outside of WWE. I was trying to think if they ever crossed paths in WWE, but I don't think so. I think he was long gone by then. So
still, they both work that style and both work the indie style, so they might mesh a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We then went backstage to Jon Moxley, who was being chased down by one of the cameramen, who asked him what Mox meant earlier in the ring. Mox responds by saying, "Thou shalt not cast pearls in front of swine," which took me a minute to understand, but then I realized don't give out pearls of wisdom in front of idiots, before changing his mind and saying he can give out just one. So he buddies up to one of the stagehands and goes, "Do you know what we need around here?" Before a woman comes over and just grabs that stagehand and hits him with the hip toss. She hits his friend with a hip toss. A third guy comes over saying that she needs to leave. She tosses him, and then a fourth guy comes over, says she needs to leave, and then looks at the floor and goes, "You know what? Never mind. I'm out of here." Moxley then gets into the camera and answers his question with a lesson in humility before he leaves, and the woman is revealed to be Marina Shafir, of all people, who shoved the cameraman over before she leaves as well. So I don't know what the hell Marina Shafir is doing here, but it seems to be, Matt, first and foremost, that Moxley doesn't seem to be a part of the BCC anymore. It looks like he's starting up something of his own, and apparently Marina Shafir is the first member of this new group, I guess.
That's what I was questioning too, because people have been saying for a while that the BCC should get a female member, and I know Marina Shafir was pitched by the internet, like I saw it a bunch of times. So it's funny that she's like with Mox, but we don't know if they're with the BCC or not. It doesn't look to be that way. I'm sure it'll at least get addressed at some point. Like, Mox, what are you doing? We haven't heard from you in weeks. Like, what's going on? I did think of her opponent for Ricochet real quick. Cesaro, Claudio, that they've worked together. That would work.
Claudio would have been interesting, but Claudio just won a title, and you need somebody who can lose.
He's in the three-man group title. They can lose a singles match, but Marina, like, she's fine. I don't know. It's something for her to do. So her hair, I liked her hair. Like, she obviously got her hair dyed different because they were playing that up where it's like, who's this woman?
I thought it was Hayter for a split second.
It is a little bit like Hayter's hair. I actually think it looks better on Marina, if I'm being honest. Not that Hayter doesn't look
I'm
good.
colorblind. I thought they were the same color, and then I was like, oh, wait, that's not Hayter's color.
I miss Hayter's blonde and black, but by all means, change.
I did love that hair, too.
Yeah. The only thing I really loved about the segment was the one security guard who was just like, nope, never mind. That was very funny, but also did not take away from the impact of the segment. So solid. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and James pointing out in the comments saying that Marina has really been improving and people like her work down in Ring of Honor, which is great. And she should also just never pick up a mic, which is fair. But she's got Moxley speaking for her now, so she probably isn't going to have to a lot. So I don't know if she has been improving in Ring of Honor, and I'm willing to trust James, John Cena guy, on all things Ring of Honor. I'm willing to give her a shot as well. So, and it's also very early to know what's going on here. We got two fairly brief segments with Moxley tonight, so we don't have any idea of what his motivations are and who else will be joining this perceived group he is building. So we shall see. James calling it perhaps BCC Wolfpack versus BCC Vegan. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't go after the BCC. Who knows? I guess at some point that has to come to fruition in some way, shape, or form. But
one would think.
Yeah, it needs to be addressed at the very, very least. Okay, we now move on to our final segment of the evening, which, fun fact, I didn't realize was the final segment of the evening, which I guess is a good thing, meaning the show flew by in a good way. But it was finally time for the new AEW World Champion, Bryan Danielson, to address his adoring fans. So Bryan comes out and starts off by saying, after trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing, he is finally the AEW World Champion, which gets a huge yes chant. He then says, backstage after the match, his daughter said it was the best day ever, which may or may not have been helped by the fact that they went on a Peppa Pig double-decker bus tour in London beforehand. But he already knew it was the best day ever because even before he got to his daughter, he saw the applause and adoration that his peers were giving him. And when he saw his daughter's face and he joined up with his family, he finally realized that it was his favorite moment of his career. And Bryan actually teared up a little bit as he said that. As he got it back together, he then turns to what's next, as that's what everybody was asking at the post-show press conference. And he declares that his AEW contract had expired on August 1st. He does need neck surgery sometime in the near future, and his family is ready for him to come home. However, Bryan says that when he got here in AEW, he thanked the people who made this place, saying AEW is great for pro wrestling and has made his life and everybody who loves pro wrestling's life, all of their lives, it's made them better. So when he takes a look at everybody in the back and he thinks of everybody who will be in AEW in the future, he realizes that it is indeed time to go home. But not yet. He will not retire as the AEW World Champion. And while his full-time career will end when he loses the title, that won't be anytime soon. He then turns his attention to All Out in a couple of weeks and issues an open challenge at that pay-per-view, saying it is first come, first serve. And I accidentally wrote first Swerve in there, and it would have been really cool if it was Swerve. But that was a beautiful accidental typo. Anyway, the scapegoat Jack Perry then interrupts and appears on the Tron, saying that while Bryan thinks he knows his future, he does not. As after nobody wanted him there, Jack had to go and make his own future, and upon his return, he did so by punching Tony Khan, decimating Kenny Omega, and burying Darby Allin alive, not to mention the fact that the last time he and Bryan stood across from each other in the ring, he defeated Bryan. So his future is to the man that retires Bryan Danielson. As for Bryan's future, it is right behind him. And the camera cuts as Perry comes in from behind Bryan and blindsides him, taking him down and raining down punches before setting up for and hitting his running knee, knocking Bryan for a loop. Perry then takes his TNT championship and Bryan's AEW championship and holds them above his heads as he stands tall over Bryan, and we go off of the air. Matt, very much enjoyed this promo from Bryan. Obviously, doing a good job playing with our emotions there, thinking that he might actually leave, but I think we kind of got what we all expected when he won the title, which is he will be defending it quite a bit until he eventually loses it, probably in the near future, and that will ring in the end of his full-time in-ring career, which will suck, but we'll get there. In the meantime, we have our first challenger in this Bryan Danielson farewell tour, and it is going to be against Jack Perry. I know James said earlier in the chat that he's fairly disappointed in this and that Perry ruins his night. But similar to the way I feel about Garcia facing off against MJF, this is a really good opportunity for Perry. I think something I mentioned earlier. Bryan can, carry a broom to a 4-star match, although I think it said he called it a 5. So I do think that Perry's going to get a really good opportunity here. I think Bryan is going to make him look like $1 million, even in a loss. So maybe not the best first challenger, but I still think that Perry facing Bryan was going to happen at some point. So I'm pretty cool with this matchup and how I think everything's going to eventually play out for everybody.
My emotions.
I'm in a glass case of emotions.
That too. Yeah, I mean, just going into this, I'm like, oh, there's no way Bryan's retiring. And then when he said, it's time to go home, I was like, oh my God, I think he's retiring. So I was going back and forth. I thought maybe he was retiring right then and there because maybe he got hurt in the match. But I'm glad he didn't. We just saw Sting do that a few months ago. Same kind of thing, retiring and going out with the title. And that's not Bryan's style. He already had to do that with the WWE World Championship. At one point, he had to forfeit it. He had to vacate it. So I'm glad that he wants to go out as a fighting champion and obviously put someone over, on his way out. I don't believe it's going to be Jack Perry. I like Jack Perry. I think he's doing great work. I mean, they showed that footage, and I thought he looked like a dweeb, but somehow everyone who watches AEW got behind him. So I'm like, good for him. Love his new title design. Wish he wore a shirt while he was doing all that welding. It's not good welding habits, but I digress. This is cool for him. It's a big moment for him, but I can think of so many other people I'd rather see him face off against. Okada, Ospreay, it's just I feel like this isn't the one to do, or at least not the one to do right off the bat, because Perry, I think he needs to get one more big title. He's already a champion. That's the other thing. Like, have him get one more big title defense, or have this match happen when he doesn't have the TNT title. It's just not selling.
There's not a lot of time for that to happen. So.
I know, but they're not selling me the pay-per-view with this match. I'm sorry, they're not. Like, it could be a great pay-per-view. They've always put on great pay-per-views for the most part, but this match and a steel cage match are not selling the pay-per-view for me. So
I'm going to disagree with you on the steel cage match, but I can see why people are upset that this is the first one they're doing. Especially on the pay-per-view that is 2 weeks after the last pay-per-view, where you're gonna have to spend $50 after you just spent $50 on a wrestling pay-per-view. So I can understand everyone's point there, but yeah, I'm with you. I think Perry has been doing good work, and I have enjoyed what he's been doing. I like I said, I do think this is very good for him, but I agree that I don't know if I would have done this first. I think, though, that Bryan is going to end up having a lot of matches against people where he can give them the rub before he leaves, and it's probably going to be people that he hasn't really faced before. So you mentioned Okada and Ospreay, but he has just had matches against them fairly recently. So I wouldn't expect too many people like that, with the exception of maybe Kenny Omega, if he can make it back, which who knows what Kenny's health status is. So I expect a lot of new matchups for Bryan in his title defenses in order to give younger guys the rub. But I wish we would have gotten somebody other than Perry here. Now, that being said, concerning the fact I do think it's going to be a bunch of people who are, younger guys getting the rub, Perry is probably the most high profile of all of them. So I can't understand why they put him in this position.
I will say this about Perry, and this is completely random, but again, like I said, I like what he's doing. Change his music to This Fire Burns by Killswitch Engage. I think that would be fucking great. It's a solid song. It's CM Punk's old WWE music. I'm sure it's up for grabs. Tony Khan, if you're listening, get that music for my man Jack Perry. I think it'll do wonders.
That would be hilarious. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it also Randy Orton's music for a little bit?
For like 1 or 2 weeks, yeah, before they gave it to Punk, they gave it to Randy Orton, and it was just like, this is not his music at all.
Yeah. While it would be hilarious, I think we're at a point where Perry can stay away from the Punk stuff when he doesn't need it anymore.
But it's such a like, if you know, but if you don't, it's still a cool song. And I don't even know what his song is right now. It's not very good. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it's not anything memorable. James shouting aside, it was 1 week that Randy Orton had that song.
It said 1 or 2.
Yeah. So
thank you for confirming.
Yeah, but I think at this point, AEW in general has been trying to distance themselves from CM Punk, and I think that's probably the right call there. It would be funny though.
What do you think, James? Should he get what do you guys in the comments? What do you think? Do you think Jack Perry should be using Killswitch Engage, This Fire Burns song? Would that be cool or no?
We'll
find out.
Yeah, while people answer that question, so let's head into the comments for some other stuff. James saying that he has seen people say Moxley should be the one to take the title off of Bryan, and he would throw up. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, judging by your facial expression there, Matt. You are not about that.
Mox has beaten Bryan like 2 or 3 times. In fact, he beat the last time Mox won the title, he beat Bryan in the finals of the tournament. Absolutely not. Do not have Mox beat Bryan. They don't even need to have a match.
Yeah, I don't think they need to have it here, to be honest. James also saying that a lot of people said the same thing about last year, as you were saying that you aren't being sold on it. And frankly, he thought it was better than All In last year. I tended to agree, I think, last year. And I think over the past year or so, that kind of bears it out. It was funny because the card didn't look great going into it. And I think we just had a better series of wrestling matches at All Out than we did at All In. All In was a much bigger spectacle last year, obviously, but All Out wrestling wise, I thought was better for the most part, which is crazy to say.
Last year I saw All In, but I did not see All Out. So there you go.
All Out was good. I would recommend doubling back and checking it out. This year, I think it's going to be a little harder to top All In. All In was great. I thought the wrestling was better. The show was much more well balanced. It's going to be tough, but do not count All Out out. I think it'll be good. Asking, do we think Perry is taking the title? No, not at all. There's no way Bryan Danielson's only going to have the title for 2 weeks. This man's going to go for a while, I think. And I don't think he'll make it to this. What is it? It's August. I don't know if he'll make it to December, but October, maybe Thanksgiving. I think probably somewhere around there would make a lot of sense, unless he ends up does making it to World's End. But I think World's End would be the furthest he goes.
James in the comments says only for All Out, not in general. In talking about the music choice. Yep. I'll take it.
Yeah, in Chicago.
Yeah, I think it's a solid idea. I didn't even remember that part.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so considering it's in Chicago, that would be interesting. It's saying "This Is My Curse." I'm assuming that's another song. This isn't really my genre, so I don't really know. But Jack won't take the title, but Christian, perhaps. I don't know. Christian does have a shot. He does have a shot at the title, and they have kind of made it out where it could be anytime, anywhere. So that is also a possibility. James making a very good point that Bryan's going to make it to Wrestle Dream. That's because that's in Washington, Matt. So that's probably where Bryan ends up going.
Cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you got some interesting options there because you got Swerve, you got Darby Allin, both Washington guys as well. So we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, I would imagine Wrestle Dream is definitely the place that Bryan ends his career, which would be great for him. But okay, yeah, that was AEW Dynamite. Matt, this was obviously, like we've been saying, our first show after All In, but there's only 2 episodes of Dynamite before All Out. So very quick turnaround. And I think they did a very good job of capitalizing on things that happened at All In while very quickly building up the beginning of a card for All Out. And I think a lot of that was done by being able to utilize things that have been set up for a little while now, even before All In, like Daniel Garcia and his return, like Pac winning that international championship opportunity a while back. So between that and a few other things here, I think we got, and obviously the Swerve Hangman stuff has been going for a long while now. So I think they did a great job of both capitalizing on what happened at All In and moving that momentum forward with whatever feuds they have or new champions, while also using that momentum to capitalize for All Out and then set up some new stuff for that as well.
Yeah, there was some interesting dynamics, some interesting developments happening. So, like, I didn't think it was a great episode, but it was decent. Like what I saw was good enough.
Yeah, nothing like super duper blew me away. I'll say that. I thought the last 2 episodes before All In were better than this one. Obviously, a lot of people are probably exhausted, being in Britain just a few days ago and then having to come back and go down to Central Time Zone there in Illinois. So, not the easiest trip to make. So I understand why it didn't feel like there was as much wrestling as there was usually. I think just less matches, but longer matches. I think match of the night was Hangman versus Ishii because that was just an absolute slobber knocker to borrow a word. And I did think though we got some really good promos out of a lot of people. And then there was the whole Mariah May thing. So bonk.
Bonk indeed.
Yep. Okay, I think that about wraps things up for here at the Mark It Down podcast. I would like to thank everybody so much for watching us. And if you liked what you saw, we would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed if you haven't already. If you liked the video, it lets us know that you enjoyed what you saw here tonight. We can continue to do so and continue to give you what you're enjoying. And if not, then we can do our best to change things up and give the audience what they want. And if you subscribe, you will be able to get all of our shows here at the Mark It Down podcast. We will not have the Gym Pack Zone tomorrow. James, obviously being in the comments, is on vacation, so he will be back next week, I presume. And then, obviously, we will be doing our best to cover any and all pay-per-views coming up. I think we have Bash in Berlin soon, Matt. Is that this weekend?
Yes.
Wow, it is this weekend. Well, I'm not covering it, so good luck, Danny. But I know that and I believe No Mercy are this weekend, so hopefully we will be able to do something for you guys for that. Matt has been doing a great job on Mondays with Monday Night Raw, so be sure to check him out there. And obviously we will be back here again for Dynamite next week. If you'd like to follow us on any of our social media platforms and you're here with us on YouTube, you can check out the links in the description below for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We've been chopping it up with a lot of people over on on Twitter. Matt's been doing a great job with our Instagram since Danny has forsaken it, I guess. But Matt has put out a lot of great wrestling content for us there. So be sure to check us out on over on Instagram. For those of you listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're already watching us on one of our social media platforms like Twitter or Facebook, and you want to check us out on some of the other stuff, you can check us out at Twitter at marketdown_pod. Instagram is at marketdownpod, and youtube.com/3665 if you'd like to catch us over there. Let's check the comments before we leave really quickly. It's saying, great job, fellas. Thank you. We appreciate it. And actually, James will be here for Gym Pack tomorrow. So you're definitely going to want to subscribe so you can watch the Gym Pack Zone with our own James Gisanti. All right. Matt, do you have anything before we get on out of here for the evening?
Yeah. Also just want to mention, we do a lot of great giveaways. So that's another great reason to subscribe to us as well. We are sitting on some really cool stuff. We're just waiting for the right moments. We got like signatures here and yada, yada, yada. So we want to figure out we got people we think are going to win some big championships. And when we get those inevitable big championship wins, likely there will be a companion, giveaway to go along with that. So definitely stay tuned for those. Always worth looking into, and they're free. And then, again, we're always looking for suggestions, like what kind of content do you like? I do a lot on Instagram, which Nick was nice enough to mention. So any of that content that you like or dislike, let me know. Happy to gauge our audience and tailor things closer to what works for you guys. We're flexible, if anything, flexible and accommodating here at the Mark It Down podcast. That's all you have. That's all I have to say. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, no, you bring up those giveaways, and we will be starting to do them when we reach 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for reminding me. We are at 993, so just 7 more away. So tell a couple of friends to subscribe to us here on YouTube at the Mark It Down podcast, and you can get entries if you follow us on our social media stuff and subscribe here. If you're already subscribed and follow us, by the time we get to 1,000, you'll be able to enter for all of these giveaways either way. So do it now. This way you are got the jump on everybody else, and you can get some cool free signed merch. So thank you for reminding me of that, Matt. All right. On that great note, for asking us if we're giving away Bill Buckner shoes. No, but I would really like that overly floppy glove that gifted us the World Series. But for Matt Casco, and my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching us here at the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good night, everyone.